Okay, well, hello everybody. So today I wanted to sort of give a perspective on something in particular. If you're someone who sort of who connects more with a sort of metaphysical approach to existence, and you imagine yourself as just like an awareness or a consciousness, and you sort of live all these different lives, and you just have different experiences. It might be hard trying to explain to somebody why we would have certain experiences. What do I mean by that? Okay, so let's assume, of course, because we're always assuming, let's assume that we're just this eternal consciousness that's just eternal and it just lives forever, and you just keep having these different experiences. Let's say you're talking to somebody and they're going through a rough time or something, and then you tell them maybe like, well, maybe this is just, this is just the life you chose to live to get a certain experience out of it. And of course, at that point, they would look at you horrified and think to themselves, why would I ever choose this life? Like, you sound crazy. Why on earth would I ever choose this life? It's been an absolute nightmare. Like, how masochistic would I have to be to choose this life? Like, you're crazy. How could you think that I actually chose to live this horrible life I've been living? Now, if you look at it in a very simplistic way, it makes sense, right? Why would somebody choose such a horrible nightmare of a life to live? Because some people have just lived a nightmare of a life. Doesn't matter how you want to sugarcoat it, that, there's lessons and they grow and they're stronger, sure, but they've lived a nightmare of a life. A lot of people have lived just horrible lives. And how can you ever conceive of them actually choosing to live such a life? Right? Well, it's really simple. Why would we choose to live such a life? If we truly are eternal, right? Infinite, eternal. Imagine how many different lives and experiences we've had. If you're an eternal being, one of the greatest gifts you could possibly have is to have a new experience. No matter what kind of experience it is. Here you are, an eternal being that just keeps doing this forever. Forever. So that's the thing that you have to understand. The idea of being eternal and doing it forever. At that point in time, see, if you look at experiences like that from that perspective, every experience would be exciting. If you've literally been living for an eternity and you've had every kind of experience possible, and then you discover this planet called Earth, where you get to have these crazy lives filled with literally heaven and hell all mixed into one. Here's a planet where you can experience things unimaginable, both great and horrible. So you just think to yourself, if you're just kind of thinking, why would anybody want to live that? Well, it's a new experience. It's something new to experience. So if you truly live for an eternity, eventually you want to experience almost everything just because it's a new experience. So like, let's say somebody has only one leg, and you think, why would anybody choose to live a life with only one leg? For the experience. What if all the lives you've lived, you've had both your legs and you walked fine? Eventually, at some point, if you truly live for an eternity, you're going to wonder at least one time, I wonder what it's like to live a life with only one leg. So, in a simplistic way, you can look at it and be like, why would anyone choose to live a life with one leg? That's so masochistic and insane. But if you understand the concept of just literally existing forever, you're going to want to try every single experience possible at any level. At least once, just for the experience of it. I wonder what it's like living a life where you're blind. I wonder what it's like living a life where you can't hear. I wonder what it's like living a life where, you're whatever. Whatever the case, you're going to want to experience. Or maybe you could be like, I wonder what it's like living a life as a drug addict or as an alcoholic. And you think, that's insane, Tony. Why would anybody choose that? Again, remember, if we're eternal beings and we live forever, what are you going to do? Just choose a nice life always? For all of eternity. Okay, imagine two people talking to each other, two awarenesses or two consciousnesses, and they're having a conversation, and one of them is saying, oh, I've lived every single kind of life possible. I've been rich, I've been poor, I've been weak, I've been strong, I've been funny, I've been sad. And then the other guy's like, oh, really? Wow, all I've done is just live a really simple, happy life over and over again. That's all I've done for an eternity. I just get incarnated, I have a nice life, and then I die, and I have another nice life. And that's all I've had. Which one of those do you think will have a more richer experience? So that's what it comes down to. It's the idea of like, if we really truly are eternal beings, we're going to eventually want to try every single experience possible, right? We have this idea that like somehow, this is what I am, this is what I'm all about. Most likely we've all been everything and done everything. We've probably all been murderers, we've all been rapists, we've all gotten raped, we've all gotten hurt, we've gotten murdered, we have murdered, we've run somebody over with a car, somebody has hit us with a car, we've shoplifted, we've robbed banks. Then in another life, you were the person who was working at the bank and you got robbed and you got killed. We've done everything, every variation of everything possible. We've probably all done. If we truly are eternal, right? Because if we truly are eternal, the idea that somehow, we're like any different from each other is ridiculous, because we've probably all done everything. We've probably all had lives where we were just beautiful and sweet, and all we ever did was be kind to the people around us. And we've probably had lives where we were just horrible people, where it was all about us, and we were selfish, and we stole, we murdered, we raped, who knows what else we did. We've probably all had every single experience humanly possible. Why? Because what else would you do if you live for an eternity? You're going to just eventually want to try everything. It's very simple with the analogy of, like, imagine you go to an ice cream shop, all right? And this ice cream shop has, infinite flavors, or like, just pick a really large number if it's not infinite, trillions of flavors. And if you lived for an eternity, would you just go back every single day for all of eternity and have only your favorite 10 flavors forever? No, eventually you're going to be curious and you're going to want to try every single flavor of those ice creams. I mean, you have an eternity. Even if you do have your personal favorites, you're going to at least at one point get curious and at least want to try all of them once just to see what it's like. You have an eternity to do it, right? So if you think about it in that way, we've probably all been everything, we've done everything, and we just continue to do it. Why? Because there's nothing else to do. This idea of existing, right? It's like you either exist right now and then you just die and you rot away and then that's it, or somehow there's an awareness that lives on. And if that's true and you just live on, what that entails is just basically you being everything. You are everything and you've done everything and you've experienced everything. And I think in a really simplistic way, if we all even like had that analogy and thought about that every day, how do you even judge anyone, really look down on anybody? If you see anyone, all you really do is think, well, I've probably had a life where I've done that too. That's your default. The second you see anyone in any situation, you would just be like, I've probably had a life where I've done that too. And that's it. What else could you really say? What else can you say? Can you really look at somebody and be like, I can't believe what you're doing? That's just really disappointing. We've guarantee we've all done that. If we really truly are eternal beings, we've all probably done everything. So at that point, you just release all the judgment and looking down on people and like, look what that person, and then we just understand we're just conscious awareness, just continually having experiences, because what else can you do if you just exist forever? So the ultimate goal of the idea of just being this awareness is that you're just constantly looking for like a new experience. That's the gold mine of eternity. Just constantly fishing for new experiences, you know? What else would you be doing if you really are an eternal being? There's nothing better than, you know, finding a new experience. And then a lot of times, if you get into the process of reincarnation, somebody might be like, well, reincarnation is pointless, it's stupid. And then you ask why. And somebody will say, well, that's because what's the point of constantly reincarnating if you just don't remember your past lives? It's almost like there's no point. What's the point? Well, the point is, if you're eternal, again, going back to one of the greatest gifts, if you're eternal, probably the two greatest gifts you can have is a new experience, finding a new experience, and two, the gift of forgetting is probably what, if you're an eternal being, the gift of being able to forget is probably one of the greatest gifts. Imagine if you were an eternal being and you only got to experience your first whatever once in all of your eternity. The first time you had a girlfriend or boyfriend that you really liked, that you fell in love. The first time you did, well, you can imagine what I'm talking about. The first time you did almost anything. Imagine if you only got to experience your first once in all of eternity. Every first thing, the first time you licked an ice cream cone, the first time you had like whatever it is, you know? Imagine if you only got to experience that once in all of your eternity. So the gift of forgetting is incredible. The fact that you get to have your first whatever, and then you have a chance to re-experience it again, right? Because we always look back and think, there's nothing like your first anything, right? Because it's such a new experience. It's so incredible. It would be such a shame, that idea that you would only get to experience these first once in all of your eternity, you know? So this idea of like, reincarnation is pointless because if you don't remember anything from the past, what's the point? Because we get to re-experience something as new again. That's the point. You know, we get to have our first whatever again. You know, that's the way I see it. So once again, to recap the whole thing, this idea of like truly being eternal beings, if we can even process such a mind-numbing idea, the idea of it just being eternal and existing forever, what that entails is basically like we are everything, we've done everything, and we will continue to do everything. And at that point, our morality and our judgment towards each other just gets thrown out the door, because I would assume if we're all eternal beings, and we've probably all done everything, right? We've all done everything. So at that point, it really just comes down to unconditionally loving each other, realizing that we're all in this whole crazy existence together, and we just help each other have these unique and different lives so we can keep experiencing something. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing else to do other than create a new experience to have. You know? That's sort of the gift and the curse of eternity. Because like, you're just sort of like, you know, like wow, I'm just going to keep doing this forever. Yeah, because there's nothing else to do if you truly are an eternal being. You just keep having new experiences and keep existing, you know? But I just wanted to give my perspective on that topic, because I've had a lot of these conversations in my life where somebody has said to me, why would I ever choose to live this life? Like, are you serious? Do you really think I'm some sort of conscious awareness and I chose to have this miserable life that I've had on earth right now? Are you kidding me? What I'm saying is, if you truly are eternal, this miserable, crazy life you've had on earth is probably a very exciting and interesting experience for you. As crazy as that sounds. So that's my own little take on that, and that's it. So I hope you got something out of that, and I hope you guys are all having a really great day, and I will see you in the next video. So take care of each other. Bye.